I want to tell you about something that happened to me when I was 14. My family used to take this coastal trip every summer. Same place, same little rental house, same routine. It wasn't flashy or anything, just a quiet spot near the sea, cliffs, dunes, fields. There was a kind of comfort in that predictability. I went with my parents and my two younger brothers, Alex, who was 11, and Ben, who was 9 at the time. Now, there was this place we'd always go to play. A short walk from the cottage, past a line of crooked trees and down this narrow, overgrown path, was a small, run-down building. It looked like it used to be some kind of maintenance shed or maybe a part of an old farm. Just a single structure, roof half caved in, windows broken, and walls covered in ivy. The yard around it was patchy with weeds and thistles, but to us it was perfect. It was our secret playground. Every summer we'd go there in the late afternoon or sometimes even after dinner when the sun was low and everything was golden. We played tag, made up games, and our favourite, hide and seek in the dark. It was the kind of place where it felt like time didn't touch anything. No one ever came by. We never saw another soul out there. Until that night. It started off like every other time. It was the second or third night into our trip that year, and we begged our parents to let us go out for one last game before dark. They were having wine on the patio and waved us off. Told us to be back before it got too late. The sun was already dipping low when we reached the building. Shadows stretched across the field. The grass was dry and tall in places, swaying slightly in the breeze. The air had that thick coastal stillness to it, like everything was holding its breath. We did rock, paper, scissors to decide who would seek. Alex lost. I was hiding. Ben ran off immediately, laughing. I ducked low and made my way around the back of the building, crouching behind a cluster of bushes near a crumbling wall. From where I was, I had a clever view of Alex stepping through the tall grass, covering his eyes, counting down from 20. I couldn't see Ben, but I figured he was somewhere in the yard. There was this old wooden door that led into what used to be a storeroom or something. He liked to hide there. As I crouched, trying to slow my breathing, I heard rustling in the bushes next to me. I froze. It was close, like a couple of feet away. I remember glancing over, expecting to see Ben, but I couldn't see anything through the leaves. I whispered, "Ben!" Nothing, just more rustling, like something shifting its weight. I felt this tightness crawl up the back of my neck. The rustling stopped suddenly, like dead stop, and I looked back towards Alex. He was getting closer, calling out names like he always did. No sign of Ben. The game ended a couple minutes later. Alex had found me, then Ben, and we regrouped in the yard, laughing, talking over each other about who had the best spot. I brought up the rustling in the bushes and looked at Ben like, "Nice try." But he gave me this weird look and shook his head. "I wasn't in the bushes," he said. "I was behind the wooden door the whole time. Didn't move." I didn't really believe him at first. It just made sense that it was him, right? But he looked confused, maybe even a little scared. We argued about it for a minute before it dropped eventually. Probably a fox or a hedgehog, we figured. Or wind, something harmless. We decided to play one more round. This time, I was it. I turned to the wall, covered my eyes, and started counting. It was darker now. The sun had completely set, and everything had this dim blue-grey haze to it. I remember the wind had died down and the air felt heavier. I got to 20 and turned around. It took me a while to find anyone. The yard was quiet. I stepped carefully through the grass, past the rusted old fence, looking for any sign of movement. My footsteps were loud against the stillness. I walked past the wooden door. No one there. I looked around the side of the building, near the bushes. That's when I saw someone crouching just around the far corner of the shed, near the tree line. They were partially hidden behind the wall, but I could see their outline. It was definitely a person, someone crouched low, facing away from me. I grinned. I thought it was Alex. I walked up behind them, reached out and tapped their shoulder. "Found you!" They stood up, too fast, too smooth, and way too tall. It wasn't my brother. This person was taller than my dad, wide shoulders. I didn't see their face, just this looming silhouette. And then they made this sound, a kind of low grunt, like a mix between a cough and a growl. No words, no motion, just this deep adult sound that didn't belong anywhere near kids playing hide and seek. I didn't wait. I turned and ran, full speed, straight through the yard, past the broken fence, tearing through the thorns. I was screaming before I even realised I was screaming. One of those primal sounds that rips out of your throat before your brain even processes what's happening. I remember hearing Alex and Ben behind me shouting my name, then falling into step, chasing after me. No questions asked. When they heard that scream, they knew something was wrong. When we finally made it back to the cottage, I could barely breathe. I slammed the door shut behind us. My parents were inside, mid-conversation, but everything stopped for the moment they saw our faces. They asked what happened. I told them everything. At first they thought maybe it was a hiker or a local playing a prank, but as I described the man in the shadows, something changed in their expressions. My mum went quiet. My dad asked us again and again if we're absolutely sure we didn't recognise him, or if we saw where he went. We didn't. He didn't run, he didn't chase, he just stood up. That night we weren't allowed to go outside, and the next morning, before we even finished breakfast, my parents packed our bags, told us the weather was changing, or that they'd made a mistake with the booking, something like that. We never went back. ever. They never said it directly, but I think they believed us. I think something about the way I screamed or the way we described what we saw, or maybe it was something else. Maybe they knew something about that place. Years later, I tried to find the building on Google Maps. I could still picture the path, the field, the trees, but no matter how many times I scrolled, I couldn't find it. Either it was torn down, or it was never marked to begin with. We played hide and seek there every summer, and that night, someone else was playing too.